Anyway, today's topic is solar electrical systems for RVs, and we're going to be showing you our brand spanking new solar system and show you what we've got installed and what we're going to be trying to utilize this winter as we do a lot of boondocking in the desert Southwest. And we'll also talk about some of the practicalities later, show you how we manage our energy, and then we'll take some question and answers at the end about it.
I'm going to debut right here our brand new solar electrical system. There it is.
It is a solar light. It's got one panel. You turn it on, and it's got a light.
It's got two modes, 4-hour mode and 8-hour mode.
Bright
it will
and dim.
Light you up through the darkest of nights. This is it. This is our new solar system.
This is all you need to exist while boondocking is a light sometimes, just so that you can go find the cat when she runs out at night. So video done.
1,400 watts. We'll take any questions on this now. And yeah, there it is. This is the solar system that we've been talking about so much. So this is it. Questions?
Okay. All right. Seriously, though, we have a lot more solar than that.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to start the tour now. And we're going to start off, well, I'll describe it a little bit first. We just installed 800 watts on our roof. We had that installation done at AM Solar, and those of you who've been following along with us online knew that we've been actually really wanting to get thin and flexible panels. That was been our goal for the past 2 years, to match the curved roof that we have on our bus. And there's a long blog post with the details, but eventually it just came down to it. We decided that for our roof of our bus, the thin and flexible wasn't going to work as well as the fixed panels.
It wasn't really as well. It was just there's a lot of factors with the flexible.
And I'll show it off when I take you up on the roof.
And when we got to AM Solar and they had a cancellation.
And we did some cardboard aided design. We were actually, because we had the option to go either flexible or with the rigid, and we did some cardboard aided design on the roof and worked out a layout that was actually going to work better for our particular roof with the rigid panels. But we still loved the idea of flexible panels, and we're actually setting up and using the flexible panels as our external outside deploy, because we couldn't get as much wattage on the roof as we wanted, just the nature of the beast. We had 800 watts on the roof, and now we actually have 600 watts as a ground deploy system. So we're going to start the tour. I guess I'll show off the ground deploy. So I'm going to first switch the camera to face the other direction. Pardon the camera work. And, nope, not that.
We're not professionals here with video, as you can tell. If you've been watching our live chats for a while, you know that we do this casual style, and that's on purpose because we don't want to become experts on video.
Here, camera. There you go. Cherie is now camera person. First off.
Okay, so here is our ground deploy system.
So I've been working on.
Go ahead.
Get out of the sun. Been working on a PVC frame here that I've been prototyping, so it's not quite complete, so that we can easily move things around and then actually tilt them. So our next, probably our big next article I'll write is going to be on the importance of tilting panels in the winter. It keeps the cat from sitting on them, is one of the most important reasons, but actually solar panels make a huge difference having the right angle towards the sun. And in the winter the sun is so low in the sky that it can boost your power tremendously. So panels on the roof are a little bit harder to tilt, but having a ground deploy setup, if we're out boondocking the desert for a while, we could angle them exactly right and get a whole lot more power. Having some PVC frames makes that a lot easier and still very small. And
so it is tiltable, of course not tiltable while a cat is sitting on it. That's Kiki, by the way, if you haven't met her yet. She's kind of our whole reason for existing, as she tells us. Anyways, so this new system, we're going to actually put some more legs in it.
Yeah, I'm still building the leg setup. But
we literally just prototyped this yesterday. So it'll tilt up, and then we can move it with the sun. Now we are still testing. These are two 100 watts. These two are the Go Solars that they had sent us as evaluation units.
Here.
The middle ones.
The Grape Solars. They're much thicker and more rigid panels. They're slightly thicker plastic.
And then we just took advantage of a Black Friday sale with Renogy on Amazon and picked up 2 of the 100 watts of their bendable panels. We decided to go ahead and invest in those so we could put them into the experimentation.
Yes. So now we can compare the 3 main types of flexible panels that are out there, and you'll see that they look almost like twins of each other. It's kind of shocking. They're nearly identical spec-wise, size-wise, looks-wise. I believe they're using nearly identical cells behind the scenes. It's just how they're packaged up differently. And then we still have in the test arsenal over here, that is a 156 watt panel from High Flex Solar, which is CAT certified. High Flex's unique claim to fame is they have right here into the panels a little MPPT controller per panel. Actually, there's 3 of them per panel that theoretically should make the panel more shade resistant and a bit more power efficient in low light. So they say we have not actually been able to demonstrate that ourselves. The other really unique thing of High Flex Solar is they will do custom sizes. So if you've got a unique roof.
And theirs are super thin. They're definitely the thinnest of the batch that we picked up.
Yep, very thin, quite flexible. And they will do custom sizes. So if you've got a unique challenge, High Flex Solar is a place to start. They're a very small company. They don't actually even have set published prices.
Their website's kind of lacking in information too.
But they're one to check out and try to figure out what's up with them. Now, I guess we'll go up to the rooftop.
So we're not going to show you it from down here. I mean, that's just kind of silly. We're actually going to send Chris up this ladder. One thing we did have to purchase for our bus. If you've read our post for a long while, you know that we never had a ladder before. So he's going up. It's a telescoping ladder. I will not be going up there because I am deathly afraid of ladders. So I'm going to hand the camera up there. If it falls, it's not my fault.
And it's my iPad, so there we go. Let's see. Still here?
I'm not getting any chats, so I'm hoping people are...
I see 117 people here. And yeah, I just did get a chat come through, I believe. Welcome to our roof. So I just did, as I said, the next thing I'm going to write about is tilting. So I just did get some tilt kits from AM Solar. So this panel here, the first of the pairs, is tilted. We have, this is, right here is perfect. There's Cherie down there. Keeping. I hate ladders. Okay, good. So we've got up here, let me get a little panorama of the roof. 800 watts, 8 100 watt gold, Grape Solar GS100 panels installed by AM Solar. The reason we went with this design is you see our roof is
I'm not comfortable with this at all.
Okay, I'll go down one notch. We've been vetoed down a notch here.
You have no hands to hold on to.
Okay, I'm still here. I haven't fallen yet. That'll be great footage for YouTube if it happens. So they got the 8 panels. The roof is our roof is kind of crowded. There's a big vent fan here, 2 air conditioners, another vent over the bathroom there. So it made it kind of a challenge to figure out how to put things on the roof. And then one of the unique challenges we have with our bus is, you can see over there, conduit that runs to and from the front and rear air conditioners, because we had to rewire our air conditioners with external wiring. And one thing we discovered when we were playing with both flexible and the rigid panels is that the rigid panels would let us go over the top of the conduit, over the top of the bathroom vent. You can see down in there we put in a new low profile bathroom vent. Over the top of, we got a Wi-Fi Ranger Sky that we were able to keep tucked in down there. And just basically to rise above a lot of the little roof noise that's up here. So that was a very nice addition that the flexible panels did not make possible. And then the rigid panels, well, flexible panels really can't tilt when they're on the roof. The flexible panels can. You know, the way ours is laid out, we couldn't tilt both sets of a pair without having one side shade the other, but we can do it taco style. So like this. You could tilt some of the panels. So, and I think there's anything else here up on the roof to show off. Got our Wi-Fi Ranger is also mounted back there in front of the air conditioner now. So we did a whole lot of roof work while we were at AM Solar, and things came out really, really nice. We're very pleased with how the roof worked together. And one other advantage of, because the panels can tilt, is if we ever do need to work on the roof, we could just tilt them up to either side and still have a full walkway right down the middle of the roof if we have to ever change the air conditioner or something like that. Okay. Here's the camera coming back down. But hope nobody got motion sick on that trip.
Our apologies if it did. Oh, whoops, we're back to this mode. Okay.
No, that's the mode, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the mode looking forward so I can aim. Now I'll show you where the power goes. We actually routed it down our refrigerator vent.
Which is on the other side.
Comes down and into here. This is our electrical bay and plumbing bay. And got a nice kneeling spot. We have here on the wall 2 solar controllers. So one is for the panels on the roof. They're both Victron 150 controllers. They can handle 50 amps up to 100 volts MPPT controllers. So the one is handling the panels on the roof, and then the other is hooked up to an extension cord that we can actually hook up to the outside panels. And we actually have that coil of wire is a 50-foot extension beyond that. So we can put the external panels out quite a ways and put them into the sun.
So someone's asked me what the ladder brand is. If you could look on our gear page on technomati.com, it is listed there.
Yeah. All the solar panels go into, this is a Midnight Solar baby box on the wall behind the 2 solar controllers. So that's got circuit breakers to both disconnect the panels and also disconnect the solar controllers from the batteries. So it makes it easy to turn things off if I'm working on them or if I want to change out the panel configuration and stuff. Or just do maintenance down here. Then, of course, our lithium batteries and our Victron inverter kind of complete the electrical bay tour there. And cool.
Is there anything to be seen on the other side of the bus?
Oh, no, I just have the other side open so there'd be light.
Oh, as far as no wiring or anything like that?
No, I guess you can see the circuit breakers if you really want to.
Anybody want to see circuit breakers? We're all geeks here, right?
There's a 2-minute tape delay, but we'll just show them the circuit breakers. Why not? I could even show the conduit. That's an important thing.
So our conduit starts up at the fridge vent. So all the conduit that Chris showed you up on the roof routes in through there. And then comes down below our refrigerator.
So when we had the fridge out, we put in conduit for both the air conditioning wiring, future solar wiring, and network wiring. That lets it get easily up and down to the roof. Lets us change out antennas easily enough on the roof, and also made it running the solar power quite a bit easier. We were able to just come right down behind the fridge with no fuss at all. And that comes over to the electrical bay.
This is the other side of the electrical bay. The advantage of bus conversions is you got huge bays. These used to be the passenger luggage bays for the bus. So we've got huge bays. You can see our huge holding tanks. We've got 45 gallons of black and about 100 gallons of gray. There are freshwater tanks actually under the bed, which is also about 90 to 100 gallons. But that gives us a lot of space and a lot of electrical space to play in here.
So one of the, I guess, relatively unique things we've got here is this is our main AC breaker panel. Is everything here is downstream of the inverter. When I wired the bus up, I put basically all the circuits downstream of the inverter, so the inverter can power everything. We can't power, of course, everything at once, but we can then choose like one air conditioner or the other and power it up. Most RVs don't have; they only have a handful of circuits powered by the inverter. This way, we have to be careful not to overload the inverter, but we can run everything off a battery if we want to. And then these are the few circuits that are upstream. These are the ones that are plugged straight into shore power. So we've got one outlet inside that is direct to shore power, and then of course the inverter is powered here, and then the refrigerator gets powered off of shore power directly instead of DC when we are plugged into a campground. So these are the circuits that are right there. And the other side, just to complete the electrical breakers and stuff, there's a cat in there now.
Oh, hi. It's a cat, babe. See? The cat.
Yes. she does maintenance and inspection. But then we also have our DC distribution blocks here and fuses. So those are all wired up and cat approved. So.
What's this? Does the heat from the refrigerator condenser affect the wiring?
Does the heat
by running the conduit behind it?
No. The refrigerator condenser doesn't get all that hot. There's tons of ventilation right here, and the wiring is in conduit and is well separated from that.
Alrighty.
Now you get to see the control panels inside.
Ooh, you get to go inside our bus. You also had someone ask about the batteries. We have 500 amp hours of lithium-ion batteries that are in there that we built from Elite Power Systems. If you want to learn more about the battery system, just go to technomadia.com/lithium, and we've got the full series on the batteries there. All right, coming into the bus. All right, and Chris is going to show off the geek toys in here that monitor. Do you have an iPhone so you can show how to log into it online? That's
yes,
pretty cool.
I can do that too. Okay, so I'm going to start off here with this is the Victron BMV 702 battery monitor. This is a pretty basic thing. This does not require having other Victron gear to use. This just ties into a shunt and measures all the power in and out of the battery. So right now we're using negative 50 watts is flowing out of our batteries right now. Our batteries have consumed negative 33 amp hours. I've had us disconnected from shore power for a big chunk of today. Our batteries are at 92% capacity, 92.8. At our current rate of draw, we can go 153 hours before the battery reaches the cutoff point, which I believe I've got us set at either 30 or 40% remaining. That's the battery voltage, 13.29. That's our starting battery voltage. It's got also a monitor tapped into that, so that's 13.11. And then back around to negative 3 amps and 44 watts. So an incredibly useful tool. It's about $200, and there's other battery monitors out there. This is one of the smartest ones I've seen.
And of course, it can mount into something. We just have it there because we also use...
Yeah. Now this is the Victron Color Control GX. This is a special hub. It's actually a little Linux computer that runs and talks to all Victron hardware. So it talks to our inverter, talks to our solar panels, talks to the battery monitor, and gives you this beautiful animated view of where power is flowing. So at the moment, and we're losing the sun here as it's starting to get very shady, it's we're getting 68 watts from the sun. Our bus's DC system is using 40 watts. The battery is currently running at a negative 44 watt deficit, and then this power is going through the inverter, and we're using 62 watts of AC power right now. This will graphically show the battery dropping down. If we had the shore power plugged in, we'd see exactly how much power we were using from the shore. You could change this mode to this other tabbed mode where you'd see also a little bit of the visuals of it here in a different view.
And this UI is still not released. This is still in beta,
This is the beta one. This is like days away from being released to the public. They've got the final few bugs to track down. And then if you go over here, you've got a menu and a list of all the devices that this is talking to. So it's got the battery monitor, and you can see all the stuff from the battery monitor in a nice, easy to read, all at once view. You can see the 2 different solar charge controllers. One controller is making 5 watts of power. That's the one that's completely in the shade. I've got it only hooked up to one panel over there, one pair of panels on the PVC frame. The other solar controller is 63 watts as the sun is starting to drop down to pop behind the mountain over there. And you can see one cool thing here is you can actually see the daily history, and takes a second to query the solar controller, but you can see how much power you've generated each day. So far today we've made 0.68 kilowatt hours. The panels have maxed out at 284 watts. This is the roof panels. You can see the range for the battery and how much time it was spent in bulk absorption and float. And because we've been on shore power, the batteries, actually the solar is not being fully maximized here. There's some new Victron firmware that will theoretically, even while on shore power, prioritize solar and battery over shore power and just barely use the minimum amount of shore power. So I'm eager to play with that. What else is here? And then if you go to the inverter's control panel, you'll see how much power is going in and out of the inverter. But the really awesome thing about the Victron is I can go here to the input current limit and say we're plugged into somebody's driveway, and all they have got is a 15 amp plug, or even, I don't want to even risk blowing that, so I can say, don't use more than 13 amps. And now the Victron will tell the inverter never use more than 13 amps from the shore power, and if we start the microwave or the air conditioner, it combines battery power with shore power and doesn't blow the circuit and still lets us run all our appliances, which is an incredibly useful feature. That is
And then it all logs to the internet, right?
Yes. Let me pull out my iPhone. So yeah, because this is a little Linux computer, it actually logs all the data to the Victron website.
And we have a GPS integrated into the inverter, so it's also always tracking the location of the bus, which means it's kind of an
like
extra
the
security.
Yep.
It's a little extra security too.
Let's bring up the Victron app.
And excuse Chris's desk; it's actually clean for him. So we're constantly in the middle of projects, and it's just stuff. It's a small space. Stuff does.
We will skip over the demo of the Victron app because since I upgraded to the iPhone 6, I have not reinstalled not reinstalled my password.
Yeah, so it's really cool. But all this data then gets uploaded online, and then we can view it online on a website. So we'll do a video demo of that at some point, and maybe add it to the archive.
Yeah, and there's some really neat graphs and stuff. You can see the power used each day, and it's constantly evolving. Victron is still working on that.
Well, is there anything else in the system you wanted to show off before we go to question and answer?
Anything else in here? That is the basics. I guess we could go set up back outside. Or
it's probably too loud out there. I think we should do it inside. So while Chris goes and gets the tripod, if you would have questions about what we've just talked about the solar, go ahead and start queuing those questions up. If you haven't found where the chat box is, if you're viewing this on a browser, it's going to be to the right hand side of where you're seeing the video, where it says chat with, and then how many ever people are in here, and then you can just type in there and we'll get your messages right on our screen. And if you're on one of the apps, I believe there's like a little chat button as well. So
okay,
I'm going to go grab my water.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about some of the practicalities of what we do.
Yes, we're going to... Okay, I hope that tour was fun and interesting for you guys. Not everybody gets to get up on our roof. Which side do you want?
I don't know.
There we are.
Oops. So you need to tilt it down. People don't want to look at our ceiling.
Hey, our ceiling's pretty darn nice.
So some of the practicalities of living off solar that we found, for those of you who are kind of new to us, the bus is our third RV that we've traveled in our 8+ years on the road now, and the 2 prior ones are also solar powered. So we've done a lot of solar living. Our first 4 years were almost exclusively off-grid with our setups. With the bus, we're trying to design something that's going to be versatile so that we're going to be comfortable in RV parks, campgrounds, or out boondocking. We like mixing it up quite a bit. So some of the practicalities, we just did about 19 days actually off-grid, coming down the eastern Sierras of California.
I think we only basically ran the generator one morning to need to run the block heater for a while and
to start
off the batteries
the diesel engine. But some of the practicalities are, you really have to be miserly with your power consumption. You got to be very on top of it. You need to know how much power things use. And Chris just wrote an excellent article on doing an energy audit of your system so that you know how much is going on there, and that's part of the solar series. Technomadia.com/solar will bring you to all the writings that Chris is putting together on the solar.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, energy audit's very important. What boggles my mind is so many people think about installing solar without actually having a real battery monitor, at least like the Victron 702 or the other ones like that measure the power in and out of your battery and actually let you understand what's using power, what's efficient, what's not efficient, how much actual battery capacity you have. Do that before you install solar. Understand your power and what you're using before you go invest in solar. Otherwise, it's like a car without a gas gauge, but it's worse. It's like having a car without a gas gauge, but having random little fairies put a little extra gas in your tank every day. So you get used to having magic extra fuel, but until you run out. You really need to have a battery monitor. And see, I've seen bunches of questions going flying by. Somebody asked if I did all the wiring myself. I've basically done all the electrical wiring other than AM Solar did the wiring on the roof and the wiring of the panels down to the electrical bay, and then I actually did all the wiring and hooking it up myself.
I think we've got all the questions.
Okay, there's the fridge, affect the wiring.
So a lot of questions on pricing of the Victron equipment.
Yeah, so I know the battery monitor is about $200. The color control panel has been dropping in price. I think, we are beta testers. They actually tracked us down and said when they were first developing this I guess it's been over a year now.
Well, we bought the Victron equipment ourselves up front.
We bought the first generation Victron battery monitor. We bought the Victron inverter, and had been raving about it online, and also sending them lots of bug reports, because that's kind of what I do. I find things and break them and send in reports, and eventually they responded to one of my bug reports with, we've got something new, do you want to beta test it? We'll send it to you. So they sent us the new battery monitor and the color control, and the list price, I believe, on the color control was...
I can go look it up while you talk.
Yeah, no, the price lists are, because it's still really not on the U.S. market. They're just starting to head to the U.S. market, so you might find the prices in euros. But I think it's down about $500 now for that. So it is a pricey little thing, but it is absolutely beautiful. They're planning to eventually roll out that it will become a tank monitor for your RV as well, and can tie in and show you the levels on your tanks, and all that stuff will also get logged to the internet, so you could set up an alarm of, hey, send me a text message when my black tank is 70% full. You know, all this stuff is on their roadmap, and it will eventually be there.
Yeah, we've been really impressed with the company. They've been sending us updates almost daily on the...
They've been getting very close to releasing this new UI, which is based on a lot of my feedback went into that, so I'm actually quite pleased.
Okay, so someone...
Does it talk to different brands? No, the color control will only talk to Victron gear for the most part. I think they're planning to talk to other tank monitoring stuff, but it talks to only Victron inverters and Victron solar controllers.
So we're using the roof panels and the portable panels, or are we just evaluating the portable panels? So the portable panels we originally got as evaluation for the roof install, and what we've settled on is the 800 watts on the roof is probably going to be sufficient for most needs as a casual passive mode. Yeah. And then if we're going to be set up for a while, we're going to be using the flexible panels as a ground deploy that will supplement it. So yes, we are planning to use both, but the 800 watts on the roof being the all the time power system, and the ground deploy just being when we're set up long enough where it's worthwhile putting out.
Because, you know, particularly when you're able to angle the ground deploy panels, like we actually had them set up with just 400 watts when we were up near Carson City. And we were making more power per day with our 400 watts of the ground panels angled towards the sun than we were getting with the 800 watts on the roof, essentially flat.
Right.
And between the two of them, in the winter, it was able to stay in top of our daily usage.
Yeah, so that's one of the practicalities of solar, definitely during the winter months. You know, you got the shorter days, the sun is much lower on the horizon, so the angles matter so much more, and how much you can capture during those few critical hours during the day are just so important. So we wanted a maximum amount of panels so that we could capture that energy into our batteries, which in the battery has enough capacity to keep us going overnight. And someone asked if our battery capacity we feel is sufficient. The 500 amp hours, I mean, we discovered with 19 days off-grid, we wend able to sustain, except for the block heater.
Yeah, we'd be like, well, we'd be stopped someplace for like 4 days, and by the end of the fourth day, we're starting to, you know, dipping below 50% and having a hard time getting back above with the solar, depending on the clouds and everything. It would be nice to have 1,000 amp hours of battery. We've contemplated upgrading, and definitely we love having the lithium because we can take advantage of so much more of the battery, and it handles high current stuff so much better, charges more efficiently. But you could really never have too many electrons on board, I think.
So yeah, we may be upgrading the batteries, or we may not. We haven't quite decided on that. The 500 hours is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, now keep in mind, we're talking about we did 19 days off-grid and stayed ahead of the curve. That's also with doing some drive time. We do also top off the batteries from the alternator of our bus, so that was topping it up. So we would be arriving to our locations. We're doing about 40 to 50 mile driving days. That was enough to get the batteries topped up back to about 70, 80% when we would land somewhere. So, and then we're able to sustain for the 3 or 4 or 5 days that we'd be at a location.
Main Bob O'Connor asks, do all the panels need the same amount of sun? I.e., if one panel is not shaded, I guess, does it reduce the other panel's output? Shading is a complicated thing with panels. It depends on how they're wired and whether they're in parallel and series. But so if you've got panels in parallel, one panel can be in shade and the other panels are going to keep working just fine for the most part. If you have the panels in series, if one panel in that series is in shade, it's going to actually pull down the other panel as well. You still might get some power out of it, but there's a downside. There's an impact there. So there's there's a lot of conventional wisdom shared online about parallel and series and shade, and as I continue to do experiments, part of why we are keeping the ground deploy in all the different panels is so I could do experiments and actually continue to do some actual testing of shading and parallel versus series and everything else. So for me, it's still a bit of an open question of the exact optimal way to do it, but there's the general conventional wisdom. How many batteries do we have? It's kind
I've already answered that one. In real-world practice, how does the 800-watt roof mount and the 1,400-watt total wattage solar match up with your daily usage and the 500 amp hour capacity? I think we kind of already answered that.
Yeah.
You have to manage it. We still do have to manage it. We can't just leave the computers going and the big monitors going all the time. We are, turning off the inverter overnight to saving some of that phantom power load.
Having the inverter on does insert a lot of just constant draw. So actually one of the other projects we're working on right now is putting more and more DC things in. So we're put in up here under the valance a USB charge station that's plugged directly into our bus battery system in bus DC, so we can charge our gadgets. We're actually going to do those also on our nightstand so we can keep our gadgets charged without having to fire up the inverter. We're going to change out our television in the bedroom for a television that will run directly off of DC so we can watch movies at night without having to have the inverter on just to power the television. So this way we can leave the big inverter just for when we want the big monitors and or our cooking appliances and everything else. Or the air conditioner, or things that really need the inverter, but all the smaller stuff we're trying to move just to DC.
Trying to have as much so that we can use stuff. Now you also remember we're also a 100% electric coach. We took out all the propane systems except for the water heater. We can still run on propane. We just use a barbecue gas grill for that. So all of our cooking is on induction or convection oven microwave.
And our fridge is actually the biggest DC draw. It's just constantly.
It's a marine fridge by Vitrofigio, so that one is 12 volt running. So we are all electric, which may not be what most people are dealing with. So if you have propane systems, you might not need as much solar and electrical capacity that we do. So that's one of the other challenges we had with setting up our system.
So Denise asks, what is the best way to learn about and understand RV electrical and solar? I need a class. I believe you posted some links to...
Yeah, if you look down below the video chat, I did post some links to more resources about RV electrical. We love Jack Mayer's site. He writes very well and very technical as well, and gives a great overview of it. There are some books out there, and I believe that if you go to some of the RV rallies and things like that, occasionally you'll see that there are RV electrical classes and courses that you can take. And then, of course, surf YouTube. Lots of videos probably out there from a variety of perspectives on RV electrical systems.
So we got a question about battery bank weight distribution throughout the coach. I guess I'm not sure I understand the exact question, but it's important to pay attention to weight and batteries and such. Lithium is so much lighter than regular batteries. We didn't have too much concern about that. But certainly if you're adding a huge bank of 8D batteries or something, you definitely need to make sure you factor in how this weight is spread around your coach.
So our 500 amp hour lithium system only weighs 140 pounds. So especially on a bus chassis like ours, which was designed to hold 41 passengers and all their luggage,
one passenger there.
It's not a big deal for us. It wasn't a concern for us with the distribution, but definitely if you have a coach that you're already playing with your axle weights and already at max, you got to consider where those battery banks are going.
Question: why did we choose the Victron over the Magnum? 3.5 years ago,
the Magnum did not have the battery boost.
Yeah, we absolutely love the feature that lets us combine shore power with battery power. We think it is an incredible enabler for living driveway surfing, which is something we do fairly common.
And at the time, Magnum was kind of in between product lines. So
Magnum was going to be releasing that feature next year for the past 5 years, and I certainly didn't feel like waiting for them because we needed to do our bus install. finally, in the past year, Magnum's now got their new hybrid inverter. Our friends Nina and Paul actually just had one installed, and that does have that core key feature.
So we are comparing data and analysis with them as we've been traveling the last month or so with them. So
so Magnum finally has something comparable to Victron.
And had they been on the market when we were shopping 3.5 years ago, we very likely could have gone that route.
Magnum's got a great reputation. They're a great brand. They were, top of my list to look at, and then they were missing the most important feature for us. So Victron was the winner by default in that category.
That's why originally Victron, and we stay with them because we have now formed a friendship with the development team, and we like that they listen to our ideas and implement them. So we say we want it to do something, they usually have it done for us, which is pretty cool. So
we've got what is your average usage with computers, fridge, cooking, and lighting? Its average is really tough. A lot of times we cruise along at about 300 watts of total power consumption, give or take, depending on what else we're doing.
So if you look at the article that Chris just wrote on yesterday, with the power consumption audit, we actually we spent 10 hours just looking at everything, and then we've also did some scenarios, and there's a spreadsheet embedded at the bottom of that lists the power usage of every single thing in our RV, from the convection microwave oven, the computers, to the Hitachi Magic Wand, because it's important to make sure everything's covered.
Okay.
What are the logistics of storing the 400-watt flexible panels? So for us, we have a bus conversion. We have big pass-through bays underneath. So we
make a stack of them and
we
pile them in.
We saved the cardboard that they came shipped in so that we can protect them a little bit, and we just stack them back into their cardboard and put them into our pass-through bay. We try not to scratch them up because they are a little more susceptible to scratches without having glass on them. So we are careful moving them in and out. And we make sure the biggest logics for us is if they've been out overnight and it's like in a high humid area, or it's rained, is putting them back wet. That puts everything wet back in there. So there have been times where we've just slipped them, put some towels in the Mini Cooper, put down the seats, and just slipped them into the Mini until we had a chance to really get them dry before putting them back in the bay.
So Adam Lawler asks, in real-world December usage, roughly how much power do you get from the roof-mounted panels per day? And I actually have... Let me see if the Victrons will scroll back enough to show you when I was still completely off the ground, off the shore power. I think it was around, depending on the day and the clouds, I was getting around 2 to 2.5 kilowatt hours. And let's see, will this go back enough? I've changed the firmware around so much, I think I might have lost the history, but let's find out if I can go back before we got to Sam's. 11 days, how long have we been at Sam's? 19 days, there's days I was getting 1.82 kilowatt hours, 1.63, 2.07, 2.01, 1.5, 1.93, 1.66, 2.26, 2.04, 1.79, 2.51. So I guess the peak we've seen is when we were completely off the grid was around 2.5 kilowatt hours a day, and that was without any sort of tilting, and just a lot depended on the weather.
Someone says. You can use air conditioners anytime. So off the lithium, one reason we went lithium is you can do high load capacity off of it without going through Puchert's loss, which is really cool. So yes, we can run our 500 amp hour batteries. If we're running nothing else, we can run an air conditioner for about 2 to 3 hours.
Yes, the air conditioner uses between 1,500 and 2,000 watts of power. So it even no matter how much solar we put out, unless we went really crazy. Well, no, we don't have the roof space for it. If we had a big flat roof, we might be able to stay in front of top of an air conditioner. But air conditioners use a ton of power, so it's like opening a hole in your battery and just pouring the electrons out. But it is awesome to be able to run the air conditioner off a battery for a couple hours if we need to. We do it all the time.
Okay. Ours poly or mono? They are monocrystalline.
Yep.
And what are the ratings of each panel? So we've got 4 to 5 different kinds of panels.
Yes.
The best thing to do is to go to technomadia.com/solar, and we list all of the panels there, and you can go look up the specs for each individual one that we're playing around with. And we will watch the series, we will be reporting on them and showing if they live up to spec.
Yep. And I think just in the poly or mono crystalline panels question in general is There's the two different types of silicon, and well, there's one crystallar, like ground up flakes of crystals. You could tell them apart when you're looking at a panel. Monocrystalline usually look like a solid color, and polycrystalline panels look like lots of little flakes. Polycrystalline panels are not nearly as efficient as monocrystalline. They used to be a lot cheaper. Now that monocrystalline panels have gotten to the same price as polycrystalline, I actually don't see many panels being sold anymore that are polycrystalline. It seems like that's gone away now. But if you got the choice, go mono.
Since I've been looking at the Go Power for our solar setup. Are they good for the price? In our research, it looks like the Go Power is the highest price point per watt.
Yes.
And at this point in our testing data, I can't say that we see their efficiency being any higher than the others.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're considering a system, we can't say for value that they're not. We can't necessarily recommend them on that price point. Had we gone flexible at that point when we went with AM Solar and decided to go rigid, it was kind of a...
Our top choice at the time of the flexible panels was we were leaning towards the Grape solar panels, in part because the Grape had actually done their panels a little bit thicker. They were on their second generation of the thin ones. The first generation AM Solar had actually tested for a year, and because the panels were so thin, the cells started to cup and bend into a little cup shape that then collected dirt and became very hard to clean and stuff. So second generation went thicker. We're curious to see with all these panels we have how these age and how they bake in the sun, and whether we actually see any of the cupping on the thinner versions from Renogy and Go Solar.
Right, and also keep in mind at the time when we made our decision, we did not have the Renogy panels in our arsenal.
We just got the Renogy yesterday.
We just got those, and we did purchase those on our own, so just so we could add them to the test data, and we will continue testing those.
Renogy is by far the cheapest out right now.
The Grapes sometimes are comparable.
Yeah, Grapes actually have some interesting sales. You can get the Grape panels through Costco, and then you've got Costco's warranty to stand behind it, which is a really great thing. Mm-hmm. Also Home Depot as well, so Grape has got the distribution through a lot of the home stores. One thing I really like about the Grape new generation panels is the eyelets, the little holes in the corner, is actually a lot bigger on the Grape.
So you have more options for mounting.
Yeah, or using tent stakes to hold them down to the ground if you're just putting them out on the ground and you don't want them to blow away.
Whereas the Go Solar ones are so tiny, we couldn't even use removable zip ties.
I had to cut the end off the removable zip ties to be able to fit through the holes. So that was a downside on those.
Someone said, are we happy with our decision not to cook with propane?
Absolutely.
So you have to keep in mind that it really wasn't a decision. It was kind of have the bus explode or not. Well, that was a decision, I suppose. The original propane system that came with our bus was very, very unsafe. It was in the electrical bay with a 50-pound huge tank and unvented. If you know anything about propane, you know how kablooey that could have been.
Bus home conversions tend to have a mix of things done way better than you'd ever have on a professional thing, and then stuff that's not necessarily thought through. So our bus is a home conversion that was done in 1989. He didn't think through the propane, and so we redid it and took all the propane out. And we love cooking on induction, though.
So the induction is fabulous. I'm really happy with it. I'm much better than cooking on propane on our prior two rigs. It's much more responsive. You don't get the excess heat coming into the coach. But you do have to manage the electrons when you're on solar. But it cooks so efficiently that it's not that big of a deal for us.
Somebody asked if our lithium batteries are 6 volts. No, our battery is made up of 20 individual cells. Each cell is 100 amp hours and 3.2 volts.
Right.
So
go. You can go read all about the lithium system. This chat's not on the lithium.
So technomadia.com/lithium.
So you can go read. There's about 6 hours worth of reading there for you, and a video chat that we did earlier this year that you can see. Let's see. Any issues with the weight wind drag on the panels on the roof?
I don't hear anything. Don't see it. No, notice any difference at all. They're not protruding all that much further than
the air conditioners did,
than any of the other stuff that's up there.
So. How often do you clean the glass panels on? We've had our panels all of about 6 weeks. So ask us in about a year.
And chat display is now 10 minutes behind the stuff on screen. Wow, when we tested this before, the tape delay was 2 minutes. So somebody just chime in and say, got this right now, so we'll get a sense for how far behind the tape delay is at the moment. I thought it was only 2 minutes, but 10 minutes would be very bad.
What about the heat on the roof between the flex and the rigid panels? And that, Wendy, is an excellent question and a big deciding point for us between going flexible and rigid. So as you know, solar panels, they work best on cooler temperatures. And also, they're like putting a big black mat on your roof. When you mount a glass rigid panel, there's usually a gap of air of about at least that much so that that heat can dissipate through the panel and not go directly into your roof. With the flexible, you're mounting them pretty directly to the roof unless you have some sort of system that's keeping them higher. Well, then that also brings them so that they're going to start to do that. So if you have them flat to the roof, you got all that heat going directly into your roof, and it's also heating up the panel more. We did some temperature testing between the rigid and the flexible, and there was a 20 to 25 degree temperature difference between them, which is pretty substantial, and that started to worry me. I don't like it to get warm inside my RV.
Right. So yeah, having a little layer of shade is good. Having a black surface that absorbs tons of heat right on top of the roof was a big concern. And it looks like, so we're seeing the tape delay response comes. It seems like it's actually about 90 seconds.
90 seconds is
so
all.
Whoever's got the 9-minute lag, I think maybe you might have hit pause, and it's your own app is somehow you're out of it. Okay.
So it was a concern with the heat, and we kind of were coming to the decision if we're going to go flexible. We weren't comfortable lining the whole roof with it just because it would just add so much heat to the RV. And then, that would force us to go towards hookups to run air conditioning at much lower temperatures than we might otherwise. Yep. And then it's like, well, what's the point? So that was one of the deciding factors to going rigid, and why we think the flexible panels being on the ground is going to be a much better solution for us.
Somebody asked about panels and hail damage. In general, solar panels are built and rated, both glass and flexible, are rated for residential installations in places that get hail. I very rarely have heard of any solar panels being destroyed by hail.
Right. So you remember, solar panels, the rigid kind, have been out for a long while. Yeah. They are made to go on the top of houses in a variety of locations across the country in a variety of weather conditions. They tend to come with a 10 to 25-year warranty on it.
Most rigid panels have about a 30-year warranty, actually.
Yeah.
And I believe the thin panels have a 10-year warranty. And that's because they're just a lot more scratchable, and they're not encased in glass.
So, we're not... I'm more concerned about hail damage to the RV than I am necessarily to the panels, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, all right. I'm not seeing any more questions. So the gear page is at the top of the screen. It says our RV travel gear. It's at the very top of the blog. I think you can even use Technomadia/gear, but I'm not quite sure. Are our solar panels able to be walked on, either the flexible or the glass rigid?
It would be a bad idea to walk on the glass panels. It probably can support a decent amount of weight, but then if they shatter, you've got major damage there. The flexible panels can be walked on, and they won't be damaged. There's no glass to shatter, but those silicon crystals are still monosilicon crystals, and there'll be micro shatters inside the panel, inside the cells, that will degrade their efficiency over time. So it's a bad idea to walk on the flexible ones like this. There's a different type of flexible, the kind that, God, what was the roll? The kind that can be rolled up much tighter. The not polycrystalline, not monocrystalline. There's the third type of solar panel that's just slipped out of my mind right now.
Unisolar?
Unisolar was the main manufacturer. They went out of business. Those panels can be walked on with impunity. They don't really care about that. There's no crystals to crush. But those panels are a fraction of efficient per square foot. So there's a major downside to using those kind of panels on an RV roof.
All right. Are the new toilet and gray tank vent covers still working for you?
Oh, the vent, the vent, roof vent seems to be working just fine. At least as good, if not better, than the old one. We don't have any.
There's no smell inside. That's the only way you can really tell if they're still working or not. But yes, they are. We went with a lower profile one to fit underneath the panels, which gave us more space on the roof. I'm going to go tend to the cat because she's annoying me.
Okay. Somebody asks, yes, they can. The panels all can support cats walking on them. Yes, we used the AM Solar Combiner box on the roof to bring all we wired our roof in a series parallel combination, so each pair of solar panels is in series with each other to bring the overall voltage up to around 36 volts, and then those, the four pairs come together in a combiner box right next to the refrigerator vent, and then it comes down as 36 volts down to solar charge controller. For an MPPT charge controller, the higher voltage is good. Usually, for ours, the ideal voltage was around 36 volts. Do any of the components generate heat or sound? The
solar panels are pretty
panels
quiet.
are very quiet. The charge controllers don't have it. The solar charge controllers do not have a fan. They're completely passive. The Victron inverter has a fan that kicks on if the inverter is working hard, but in the most part, we can't hear the inverter inside the RV. I can only hear it if I'm in the electrical bay. And I guess the control panel will beep if there's an alert or an alarm. So they're really, we don't hear any electrical noise or anything like that. Somebody shared our
yes.
URL.
How much space do you need to leave for walking room in the roof? Really depends upon your roof. You should work with, if you don't know how to lay out solar panels, work with a known solar installer who knows how to lay them out. You need to be looking for things that can cast shadows, still space to move around safely up on the roof. You need to know your roof. You need to know solar, and work with an installer who knows how to do the layout.
Yeah.
For us, we can move the panels still up and still have an aisleway down the middle of the roof. Right. So,
question on, is there any hit on performance mounting the Wi-Fi Ranger beneath the panels? Panels are glass, and I've never really heard of silicon and glass interfering with Wi-Fi, but the metal frame does actually give me a little bit of concern. Our primary roof-mounted Wi-Fi Ranger is the Wi-Fi Ranger Mobile, which is actually above the panels. Its antenna sticks above.
We have the Sky is the one that's now underneath the panels.
That's our older one that we still just have up there for testing purposes. So far, I haven't noticed any impact, but I
haven't really been on
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Been doing a ton of Wi-Fi
the last time we've actually seen usable Wi-Fi has been a long time. So
yes.
We mainly rely now on cellular data. Yeah. So we're not using Wi-Fi all that much.
Somebody asked about where the surge suppressor is wired. The surge suppressor we've got a surge suppressor wired right on our shore power cord coming in before the inverter, before everything else. And the solar is only hooked up to the DC side, so there's no surge suppression involved there. Any other questions, or is it wine time?
It's wine time. This is we've gone on for an hour now, so that's about that's a good length for a video for someone to watch later. We really appreciate you guys joining in on these chats. We do these for fun. They are our gift. We have no business angle in sharing this information. We're
you don't get kickbacks from anybody.
We're not being paid by any of these solar companies. We're not affiliates or anything like that. If you've enjoyed this content, you're finding it useful, we do love your thanks, whether that's you writing us later and letting us know you've appreciated this information, leaving comments on the various posts in the series that we're building at technomatty.com/solar. We love the comments. We really do. We thrive on them, knowing that we're not just putting out information out there and it's not being read. Also, if you would like to send a thank you in the form of a virtual bottle of wine or a virtual dinner, there is a donate button on the bottom of every single page of our blog.
What's coming up next.
We do appreciate the extra little contributions. We do use them to maybe buy a bottle of wine or
another solar panel
or something like that. The series, we are obviously building it for ourselves, for the system, but we do appreciate the contributions as well. So if you're so inclined, the donate button's at the bottom left-hand corner of every page of the website. Yeah. So if you if you're ever inclined, have a little extra cash around, that definitely appreciate it. Or using the Amazon affiliate link that's there as well.
I've seen a few other questions flow by, but if you've got other questions, just throw them into the posts. There's actually some of them are probably already answered in the solar post. So technomatty.com/solar. Go there and just ask any more questions online, and we'll chime in there.
If you got extra questions, do check both the lithium and the solar series. They're both on the blog under the RV stuff menu item. A lot of the questions are probably already answered there. If they're not, please just leave them in the comments in the post, and when we have time, we'll answer them. And we will be building the series. There will be more questions answered and more topics covered.
Tilting, I think, is going to be next.
Tilting, I think you need to do one on the inverter.
Oh, yeah, probably on the inverter. And also building, tilting might involve how I built this PVC frame and how well that works out. So I've been playing with PVC. It's like giant Legos.
All right. Thank you, guys. Enjoy. And wishing you all a delightful holiday season wherever the season finds you. Bye-bye.